Hello, somebodies, and welcome back to part 2 of Love is Blind, episodes 7 through 9, because apparently Netflix does not allow us to just binge watch it anymore and just lay it all out there for us. As always, I'm Mr. Mafuchi, we got my boy Jay here, and we're gonna let you know what's going on. And really, we gotta talk about all the couples, right? And by the way, just to start off with an amendment, as Jay and I did not understand why Vic and Christine ended up not going to Mexico, but instead went to Malibu. So we did find out through research. We actually did something behind the scenes, and it turns out that the production company did not have enough of a budget for 7 couples to go in one spot. So they ended up choosing the least dramatic or drama couple, which is Vic and Christine, and sent them away somewhere else, which quite frankly, I think that was the right choice, right, Jay? Because so far we really haven't seen much drama from Vic and Christine.
Yeah, I feel like when they're not on screen, I forget that they're there. 'Cause I don't know, between these 3 episodes, I forgot sometimes that they're even on the show because it's not as much drama. I feel like hopefully, I'm actually rooting for this couple. I hope they do succeed and get married and stay together.
Yeah, definitely. So, without further ado, somebodies, we've already touched upon it. Let's continue with Vic and Christine. So, still finishing up the vacation with these episodes, but now what's next is gonna meet the parents, as they say. Hey, they already made a movie and a sequel for it. So, meeting the parents, Vic and Christine, Vic met Christine's mom, and that seemed to go fairly well. Quite frankly, I have not seen a crack from this couple at all. So far, it looks like they are on a straight line to the altar. And 2 key things I want to bring up. I know I said Vic did meet the mom. And by the way, the mom said on camera that, hey, he was quite handsome, good looking, or whatever she said. She thought Vic was hot, just like Christine. So they both share common interests with their men. But also, there was another scene, Jay, and I think you touched upon it last time, which is Vic and Christine talking about kids because they're interracial. And number one, I'll say right now, it's 2026, and it sucks that this is still a conversation that needs to be had by parents because of society. We need to really grow up and understand that there are so many different people out there, and if they mix together, there's no difference, and it's none of your business, quite frankly. But yeah, they have this conversation because they kind of have a concern, again, because of society, and also because something Christine said, Jay, which is she felt that she would not understand half of their kids' culture because she's not black. So I want to get your thoughts on this, especially, Jay, because I think you've spoken about this being a situation that needed to be talked about, and they finally talked about it, Jay. So let me know what you think about that.
Yeah, so but let me touch on the Christine's mom. She said Vic was hot, so I just thought that part was funny. So she said he was hot. So I was like, okay, that was most of what I got out of that conversation. But I'm glad they did have the race talk as far as the kids go, because she did say she felt she wouldn't be able to relate to her kids about the black part of their culture. And I did say initially that would probably be an issue if they decide to get together and have kids, just because, as Dick was saying, this country, they're not colorblind. So, and being black, even because depending on the shade of the color of the kid coming out, that'll dictate how they get treated. Because I do have relatives who have biracial kids, so you can tell based on how they come out how they'll be treated. If they're darker than another child, or if they're lighter than the other child, they will get treated differently in society. That's just the way it is. No way to sugarcoat that. So I'm glad they did have that talk, and I'm glad that Christine, she was very vocal about how she felt she wouldn't understand. And then it's like, when she said that, I'm thinking as like, say if they had girls, the hair texture. What if it comes out not as straight? What if it comes out curly? What if it comes out like a natural black person's hair with the texture? Because our texture is different compared to anybody else's. So that's a whole lot of stuff to look at as well, because she might not be able to do their hair. Because if you pay attention to celebrities back in the day, when they go on these shoots or shows, they didn't have anyone who could do black hair. And they will say, oh yeah, we can do black hair. And then they can't, and mess up people's hair. So that's just one like side of it to look at it. But yeah, culturally, it's something I like how Vic said that he will want to share how everything goes and stuff like that, not just give a one peer view of vision of how things and keep them in a box. Because she did say she grew up one type of way and not really knowing a lot about how things work outside of her bubble. So I did like how they had that conversation. And as long as they're honest and upfront, they should be okay. And I would say, this is how like I'll teach my kids, like, don't worry about what people say, because there's always gonna be someone who don't like you anyway, no matter what your race is, no matter how much money you make, anything like that. People are not gonna like you just because they don't like you.
Getting back to another couple, which is Jordan and Amber. Again, I see no friction with these two. They got along very well in Mexico. And as far as I remember, I think Jordan is the only one that met Amber's family members. I think he met Amber's father off camera, if I recollect that correctly. And he did meet Amber's brother on screen. And they, from what I saw, they got along after a certain while of the conversation. I think Amber's brother did like Jordan. So I think Jordan's really just a good guy, and Amber's lucky to have him because, again, as we remember, Jordan did not want kids, chose Amber, the only one that had a child. So that connection seems to be solid, and I don't see anything breaking this up, Jay. I mean, do you see it any differently?
Of course I do. They're not gonna last. You know what? I was looking at my notes. I had no notes for these people for Amber or Jordan. I know that he met her brother. I believe he met the father of her child, and he said that went well. Other than that, what did they meet? Did they meet his sisters and mother? Not 100% sure, but that's how forgetful they were for me. Because the kid thing, when you say the child is a deal breaker, I'm not gonna forget that part. The child is a deal breaker. So we'll see how soon this will break up. I will say it's not gonna last. Oh, they saw each other's house, which hers is really nice. So don't sell that house. Don't sell that house. I saw his. I was like, oh, good thing this is not gonna last. So she can keep her house.
Let's move on to another couple, which we were keeping an eye on just because they left us a teaser about, hey, there's some friction here, which is Brittany and Devonta. And primarily, it was just that Devonta did not want to talk and communicate with Brittany, which, as always, we say here, I mean, you got to communicate, effective communication, and Devonta wasn't about it. But we also did see, Jay, that Brittany needs that self-assurance from, I don't think not just Devonta, I think anyone from that she's in her circle with. So I think this was kind of passed down from her family, that I guess her family would always just compliment her, and she's used to that. So when Devonta's not doing that, I mean, it kind of hit a little hard. And as well, that Devonta met Brittany's family, and they seemed to kind of warm up to him, up to the point where I remember the dad took Devonta aside and they spoke about intentions and what's going on. And then they came back down and they made a whole scene where Brittany's dad came to the kitchen with the rest of the family. Devonta left the house, and dad was trying to fake him out, saying, hey, there was some friction or stuff like that. And the family, and especially Brittany, didn't believe it at all. So nice try, Dad. But that's what I remember, Jay. I mean, what do you think with this? A new wrinkle that Brittany just needs continuous reassurance for herself and her looks. I mean, that's what I saw. Lay it on me.
No, what I think it is for me is she wants to be told that she's attractive. I think any woman wants to be felt and told that their spouse, boyfriend, husband find them attractive. And I think for me, this is just based on the footage I'm seeing. When you start off, and she's mentioned this, when you start off all over her, touching her, kissing her, showing her affection, the next day you stop and there's no explanation, that would be a problem for me too. So I'm like, I would think something is wrong with me too if you're not vocalizing what the issue is. Like I said, I don't know if he suffers from depression or something else, or his grandfather is dying, or he's just that type of person in general. But if that is the case, he needs to vocalize that, because he did say that he feels she don't understand where he's coming from and how he's feeling. No one else does either, because you're not saying anything. But with the family, I did like her family. I think they kind of gravitated towards him a little too quickly. But even though I think her sister-in-law said, I think it was her sister-in-law. Could be her sister. Not sure. But the other young lady who was at the table when they were having dinner, she said she never saw her, I think, this lit up about a guy before. I was like, just pump the brakes just for a second, because she hasn't known him that long. And if they haven't resolved that him not being open and communicative issue, I'm not buying what we're seeing on screen. So until that part is actually discussed in full, and if you know this is her love language, where she wants to be touched, she wants to be given compliments, because he did say at one point, I don't want to give you a compliment now because you say you need compliments and you're going to think it's not real. So I'm like, I understand where he's coming from, but at the same time, you have to look at the way that you've been acting and how she's taking it. Just look at it from her perspective.
So on to another couple, which it seems this is the opposites attracts dynamic, which is Connor and Bri. Again, Connor very reserved. Bri is completely out there and always speaks her mind. So they both got to see each other's homes, and yes, Connor does live apparently in a frat house, and the keg outside kind of sealed that deal for Bri. This is a boy's house, but in the same respect, you went to Bri's house, that was completely a girl's house, and they both self-admitted that, okay? So I'm not sure who's going to move into whose house. I think we've spoken about it here. It's probably best if you can afford it to just get into a new home together and make that your own instead of moving into somebody else's territory. Now, from what I remember, I know that Bri did meet Connor's family, and I saw it this way, Jay. I think Connor's family had no choice but to like Bri, because from what they showed, the majority of the conversation was Bri. And every now and again, the Connor's family would ask a question. But that's it. I don't think they got to follow up with their own conversation. It was just Bri, Bri, Bri. But the family ended up loving that. I think especially because, again, Connor's the complete opposite. He's quiet. He doesn't speak up as much. So that's what I saw. And I'm trying to remember, I think Connor met Bri's mom too, and I don't recall a lot of that, but I think that went well. So Jay, if you can fill in the gap on Connor meeting Bri's mom, along with the rest of the interaction. What did you think about that?
Well, when I think about from their interaction, it was like she kept calling him a boy. Now, if you don't keep calling me a boy, I'm gonna have a problem with that. I'm like, one, I'm a man. Stop calling me a boy. I can understand that she has issues about what his house looks like and stuff like that, because she brought up that he had the toilet seat up in his own house, which no one else lives in, which I'm like, why is that an issue? That's what men do if they live by themselves, is the toilet seat is up. Don't need to be down. I had an issue with that. Granted, I'm a little picky, but, and then in his house, I believe he doesn't have a proper lock on his door. It's like a hook lock. And he told her to, go ahead and try to come in. And she almost busted the door open because how cheap it is. I'm like, dude, invest in a proper bolted lock. Unless you want to get your house broken into. But apparently, that must not happen in Ohio, I guess. And then I noticed he had a Nintendo 64, Why are they showing that on camera? I know I saw an Xbox somewhere on screen, so why are we seeing a Nintendo 64? But nevertheless, but yeah, the frat boy comment, that she kept harping on that, and I'm like, why? Why is that so important? It's not like you guys are married. It's not like you guys are sharing a property. I believe, I'm not sure if this is a house or a townhouse, something of that nature. I'm not sure if she's in an apartment, but I do remember her conversation with his family briefly, because the only thing they kept talking about really I remember was the Michigan stuff, or Minnesota. Is it Minnesota connection or bond or whatever the case may be. But yeah, I was looking forward to more out of these two in these episodes. But one thing they do have in common is that they don't believe in divorce. So I was like, y'all better not get married, because you guys will end up divorced. So don't get married, because I don't see this working either.
Let's get on to another couple which kind of had question marks and a big red flag, which is Emma and Mike. Now, the key thing here, even from the pods, Mike and babies, along with Emma, no babies or a big question mark about it. That continues to be a reoccurring issue that comes up. So in this episode, both of them met each other's family. So turns out Mike's family, I didn't know this, they're Italian and heavily Italian. So right away, I think the mom kind of carried on about having a big family and kids, and it came up. And I give Emma credit, she was honest. She continues to be honest about her stance on kids with the family. And you could tell, especially the mom was not like, well, we want kids, we grandkids, all this kind of stuff. So that's something that will need to be hashed out. And again, on the other side, Mike got to meet Emma's family. And to their surprise, Emma's parents were unaware that she had all these thoughts and insecurities, especially because of her birthmark, and also is connected to kids. So the parents didn't know. I know one of the sisters that has kids has said, if I were to do it again, I wouldn't have them. It's something to be said about just living your own life. So she understands Emma, and the sister continues to tell Emma that don't do it because of any other reason except you want them. And then even at the end, when the kids were brought, and Mike he doesn't know how to read a room, because number one, when the sister was talking to them about, hey, if Emma doesn't want to have kids, so be it. And you could see Mike keeping that smile, but inside he was dying a little bit. But then the kids came out, and what does he do? He goes right to Emma and says, this doesn't do anything for you. And that's unfair. That really is, Mike, okay? You knew this coming in, and both of them are going to have to get this straightened out, because if they don't, they're not going to make it to the altar. But it's not for any dishonesty. I'll give them that. So Jay, what do you think about Emma and Mike?
Well, see, what I looked at this couple, right? So the key things I took away was, Emma's looking for some type of promotion. Mike is still talking about kids. Like you said, he couldn't read the room when he met her family. And when Emma met Mike's family, I was wondering if she was going to reveal why she was on the fence about having kids or not. Because once I don't know if Mike said it or Emma said, like, she's not sure about having kids, anything like that. And you saw the parents look on the parents like, we don't like this woman. No, this is not going to work, right? Then when she told the story, they understood. But granted, they have 2 other kids who can give them grandkids. But my thing is, if she wasn't 100% sure about wanting to have kids in the pods, you should have cut bait right then and there, because that is going to be a problem. Because it seems like he really wants kids, and it may not happen with Emma. She may change her mind, but are you really wanting to waste and take that chance? And I feel when he met her family, and I can understand the parents not knowing certain things about Emma because I know I've told my mom certain things and she didn't know. When I'm like, I thought I've said that before, and my actions kind of showed it. But parents remember what they want to remember, or they block out certain things. So, but my biggest issue was with Mike and the sister who does have kids. I was trying to look at her hand to see if she was married or not, because I don't know if she is or not, because I did see someone come in and says Emma's brother-in-law. So I'm going to assume that's her husband, not 100% sure. But when she said, if I can choose not to have kids, I wouldn't, I was like, oh, interesting. I don't hear a lot of women say that because they love being moms. And my thing, she's like, it's hard raising kids. I'm like, before the kids came out, I'm like, how old are these kids? Her kids are 2 and 5. 2 and 5. Yes, those are the years we're going to be doing a lot of work because they can't do anything for themselves. Of course, it's not going to be easy. But if you have a spouse there who to help you, it's definitely not going to be easy. That's just from my perspective.
So, we're getting close to the end, some buddies, and I think you know who we're going to save for last. But up next is a couple that I thought were going to have issues pretty soon, and that's Alex and Ashley. I said it in the last show, which is this is a sexually driven couple. I know this because I had that with my wife, so I know what that entails. At some point, you're gonna have a moment to sit down and really get to know each other, and once you find things out about yourself, are you gonna like those things? Because what has drawn you close to each other, again, is the physical touch, and that's what Ashley is especially about. You watch scenes where Ashley's like, Alex left one night when Ashley was rearing to go, and she couldn't understand that. Now, again, granted, I'm sure with Ashley's look, she's probably hasn't had this issue before, that men don't just want to jump into the sack with her, but there's got to be more to it. And we saw scenes in the kitchen where they're just talking about the living situation, especially, I think Alex looks like the person that will more want to sway things his way because he keeps talking about Florida. He's got the contract for coaching, or he's got another job opportunity in Florida. And Ashley has told Alex, hey, I've let my employer know, and hopefully they can do something with placement. But Alex at that point, from what I saw, did not want to hear anything but either you get an answer from your employer or leave your employer. That's what I got out of it. Now, with something else, they both met each other's families. And first was Alex meeting Ashley's family. And you saw, Jay, that Dad was really harping on him because asking him questions, really wanting to get to know him. And he wasn't buying what Alex was selling, is what he said when he was alone and he said his piece. He didn't really see Alex as a genuine person, and I kind of saw that, especially with that kitchen scene, that Alex is very good at knowing how to say the right things, but if you have someone that has a bullshit meter like Ashley's dad, well, that's not really going to work. So that's where everything was left, that Alex is kind of a question mark for the family. Now, on the other end, Ashley got to meet Alex's mom, which, by the way, is a truck driver, which I liked right away. And hey, the mom's still looking good to me, but that's a separate show. And that was good because I saw that the mom and Ashley were connecting. And this was Ashley's way of getting to know Alex's past, because it seems, especially with relationships, that Alex is not accurate is the key thing here about dates. So Ashley doesn't know what to make of this. And hey, if you keep bumpering around when you get asked the same question and you can't always say the same thing, especially connecting dates to a person, I understand that 100%. Like, hey, so what's going on? Are you actually lying to me? And if so, why? And where's the lie?
Yeah, I took a lot of notes about this couple. So, about I didn't know Alex moved as much as he did, because that was concerning for me. I know he's more of like a free spirit where he can just kind of go with the flow, and that's what his mom said as well, because she moves around a lot too, as being a trucker. I did like Ashley's dad, since he's a lawyer, so that's where all the questions came from and kind of rapid fire. So when Alex was trying to give like PC answers, or like giving answers that he think the dad would like who you voted for and all that kind of stuff like that, I was like, ooh, no. He's like, I didn't vote. I was like, dude, come on now. But yeah, there was a lot of stuff there, because the dad doesn't even buy what Alex is saying. Because I'm like, if you're trying to be polished, should have just being your authentic self. Because in the first meeting, a father is going to be very protective of his daughter. So you're going to have to prove to me, what kind of a person you are, what kind of man you are. You're going to protect my daughter and stuff of that nature. But a lot of stuff that I took away was, I feel like Alex is trying to, you can't pressure Ashley to pressure her boss about what is going on with her job. If she likes the company she works for, because that's where, in these days and age, where you actually like where you work, okay? And she's looking for a promotion. Now, if she can work remote, that's one thing where, hey, you can move around, do whatever, but I didn't like how you're trying to pressure her in that instance, because if you're doing that over a job, what else are you going to try to pressure her for later on down the line? And you don't even find this woman attractive. She's not even your type. So I don't know why you're kind of working so hard to try to make this work. And then the water bottles in the refrigerator, how I guess she moved them a certain way, or whatever the case like that may be. He felt some type of way about that. I don't know what that's about. I don't know if he's OCD personality or what, but that wasn't a big deal. And then the initiating sex, right? So she wants it. He was like, we just got back and blah blah blah, then you're on your period and this, that, and the other, and then I was ready to get you pregnant. And she was like, I can't get pregnant, my period. It's like, dude, this dude haven't been to school. Like, you haven't been with a woman long enough to know how the ovulation thing works and stuff like that. I'm like, dude, even I know that, okay? Come on now, give me a break. That was ridiculous. So he has no education there. And then they start getting nitpicky ever since the water thing, now the initiation of sex thing. I'm like, all these small things, that's just telling me you guys are not communicating properly, and it's like, it's only going to get worse if you guys stay together. Because you can tell, like, she's into him, but he's not really feeling her, because she is not Hispanic, or a darker shade, as he says, right? So, and Ashley said this, her love language is touch. So she wants to get busy. She wants that vitamin D, and he ain't giving it up. So, and then when she was kind of questioning about the past girlfriends and the timelines, I'm like, and he felt like, I'm not lying. She's like, I didn't say you were lying. I'm like, I'm not gonna catch you in a lie, but I'm like, yeah, he's catching himself in lies, because like, he can't keep it straight. So I was like, Ashley just cut bait. But yeah, that's pretty much the things I picked up off this couple. But yeah, it's like the water thing, the initiating sex thing, trying to make her move, or whatever the case may be. But if you have a contract to be a soccer coach, but you're still trying to debate if you want to be in Arizona or Florida, but the contract's in Florida for the job, he's not consistent enough for me, and I wouldn't want that if I'm Ashley, where like he can't sit still to save his life. He always has to move. And granted, if you're coaching, you might have to move again anyway. So it's like, it's a lot. And does she want that type of life? Because I don't think she wants that lifestyle. And he keeps saying, I don't want to be stuck here in Ohio.
Yeah, absolutely, Jay. And by the way it usually works with sex is you got to get the man off the woman, psycho or not. So yeah, we touched upon this the last time, which is, and Alex even said while talking with Brittany, Brittany is his type, as is mine. But so Ashley's not ugly. I mean, she's a beautiful woman as well, but just not Alex's type. So that's going to be something, and I'm not sure they're going to make it to the altar. Now, getting to the final couple, I think everybody agrees with this selection, which is Chris and Jessica. And spoilers, there was no meeting of parents. All they did was check out each other's homes, and that's as far as it went, because oh my, this was the blow up. I didn't see this coming just because it looked like everything was okay in Mexico up until they left. And then what happened? I guess, I think Chris said at some point that, you know, the party vibe, and we found out that's his vibe, that everything was fine for that reason. That was his atmosphere. So yeah, he was enjoying being with Jessica, but I guess once they left Mexico, the reality hit him. And I hate to use this as an issue, but Jay said it. Jessica is older, and that was, I think, part of it, even though it wasn't said out loud. But Chris just, he had no way of saying this properly. He just flat out said, hey, I need a gym rat. I need someone to be there. I need someone to work out with me. And he said that from the beginning, and Jessica said it at the same time. That's not me. So this did not get hashed out, and this went horribly. Again, Chris had no couth. He had no bedside manner at all. He just completely hurt and broke Jessica's heart for what I think is something insignificant. You're to me, I don't think you need a person just like you with the gym, but I guess for Chris it was too much. And then turns out that once he cut bait, then he went back to his old antics, which apparently is just partying with the younger girls or girls of his age. And it seems he even started an IG page right then and there. And who was the first person that he wanted to be friends with? Bri, his number 2. And to my surprise, Bri accepted it, but I don't think she knew right off what was happening. I'm not sure if she already had the conversation with Jessica or not, because both Jessica texted Bri, and then Connor texted Chris, or Mike texted Connor after it happened to talk. And you saw that conversation, Jay, with Connor and Connor and Chris, mixing up names, and Connor kind of started seeing Chris for what he was. He was giving him good advice, but at the same time, I think it was eating Chris up that Connor is with Bri is number 2 at that time, and I wanted to make number 1. And he did say once he saw Bri in person, like, no, that should have been my person. And what are we doing now, Jay? Chris is pursuing Bri and said he don't give a damn about Connor or what happens. I think he even said, maybe paraphrasing her exact words, what is Connor gonna do? Beat me up? So that's where we are at right now, that Chris is making a move on Bri. So we don't know how that's gonna end up. And Jay, I'm sure you have a lot to say about this, so let it fly.
Yeah, so when they saw each other's places, right, I was like, I liked her place, especially her bedroom because it was nice and dark. I was like, oh, this is her place is very nice, very nice. But when they were, I think she came back into their joint apartment, and she was like, hello. I'm like, the vibe seems off. I'm like, something's off here, right? And I'm like, I didn't understand the energy that was going on at the time, right? And then they both sat down. He came in, and then he was like, I needed space. And apparently he didn't text it to her properly, or a way that she would understand it, where it's like, I just want to hang out with my boys, stuff like that. And then I'm like, okay, you want space, cool, but what's the issue? And then he showed his true colors. And I was like, I didn't understand. I'm like, you don't find her physically attractive, but yet you slept with her. I'm like, and this is what I don't like about these shows. People have sex way too soon. And women, when they have sex with a man, they get emotionally attached. Men, not necessarily, because they don't know you yet. So I'm like, that part needs to stop, because this is what happened. That's why she's extremely more hurt than she would have been if they wouldn't have slept together. That's just my perspective, ladies. Tell me if I'm wrong or not. But when he was like, yeah, I need someone who goes to Pilates, and from what I'm being told, Pilates ain't cheap. So, but when she told you she doesn't work out every day, and you decide to be with her anyway, you're stupid. Like, why would you? She's telling you who she is. It's not like she's out of shape. It's not like she's ugly. It ain't like she's fat. So I'm like, what's wrong with her? Unless it's she's not Bri. That's the only thing I can think of, outside of her age. But you don't want kids. She don't want kids. She don't look old. So I'm like, she seems like she's a good person, has a good spirit. So, but when you saw Bri, all that really flipped? Really? Because now I'm seeing Bri trying to be more with Connor, said the opposite how she was in the first 6 episodes, where she wanted to be all about Chris, and he was trying to put the brakes on. So roles are being switched here right now, and I don't understand why he felt to tell her that in that way, because there's no way to sugarcoat how he was gonna say it. He was gonna come off like an ass either way how he said it. But and then later on, when they all had like their little group meeting and stuff like that, he's telling all the women, like, I don't care, like, and then he had the nerve. I was surprised he had the nerve to tell Jessica, I was wondering what it would be like with my number 2. I'm like, dude, you act like you don't know who your number 2 was. I'm like, how stupid can you be? Should have figured out anyway, because all the girls talk, but just the nerve for him to say that. I'm like, you got some balls to say that. Granted, you're gonna come off looking stupid and bad on TV. And then he's drunk at this little group gathering, hitting on Bri, and she looked uncomfortable, kind of, but she was like, oh no. But granted, he's drunk too, so I'm like, when you're sober. And then I'm thinking about this as, okay, you're not really friends with Connor if you're hitting on his fiance. When this is aired, are you guys gonna have this kind of discussion as well, or you're gonna get punched in the face? But granted, Bri and Connor may not even be married about, right now anyway, so that part don't even matter. But yeah, he showed his true colors, and then I'm like, what makes you think this will work out anyway? Yes, Bri is more your type. She's more athletic, more adventurous, and Jessica is not. So that's why I felt in the pods, Chris and Bri were a better match. And I said that in the last video. So Chris is an a-hole. There's no denying that. I just don't understand why he felt he had to say that. But then he kept saying, I would try to finish the process out, and work through it that way. But once you tell a woman you don't find her attractive, and then you're like, I'm wondering what it would be like to be my number 2. Why would she want to stay with your ass? That's what I didn't understand. So I don't know if it's immaturity or what, but it's just ridiculous. And then I think talking about meeting your dad, that I can tell him about my portfolio, whatever the case. And I think it was that, I guess he makes more money than Connor, or well off more than Connor, or something like that. But when you're trying to pursue someone who's already taken and you don't care, granted, I know she's not legally married, but the way he was coming off, it made me sick. And I just feel bad for women who have to deal with guys like that. So I do understand how they say it's hard out there in the dating pool nowadays. So yeah.
So somebody's, let us know in the comment section, what do you think? Are there other couples that you feel will not just make it to the altar, but say yes on both ends? Do you agree with Jay? Do you agree with me? I mean, what's going on? How do you see it? Did we miss something? Let us know in the comment section. So, for my boy Jay, I am Mr. Mafuchi. Hey, we'll see you for part 3 next time.
Later.